Welcome back to Monkeynomics. I've received a lot of positive responses from my last video from people who are beginning to understand finance and investments, but they don't know how to get started. So that's what we're going to cover today, so let's get started. The first place you should look to get started in investments is through your employer's 401k plan, especially if there's an employer match. We've covered this in a previous lesson about retirement planning. However, if this option has already been exhausted or isn't available, you'll have to do it on your own. So we have an important question to ask, and that is how much work you are personally willing to do to manage your investments. A lot of people go the do-it-yourself route in order to minimize their fees and avoid paying an advisor, but they don't have the time to manage their investments themselves, so they just let it sit in something simple, or otherwise ignore them, and lose a lot of potential or actual money that would have made paying someone else to manage your investments worth the cost. If you personally enjoy watching or listening to shows about stocks and investments, if you buy books or magazines about stocks and you like to stay informed about things going on in the market with the news and various websites, and you think about investments almost like a hobby, then you are a great example of someone who could benefit from the do-it-yourself approach and save yourself a lot of money on fees. However, the average person doesn't fit that category. The average person isn't knowledgeable and passionate enough to achieve comparable results with someone who knows what they're doing. They will save money on fees, but they'll probably get much lower returns or even lose money at the same time because they don't know what they're doing. Now I hope that through these videos I will teach you enough information to get you started, but the problem is that a portfolio isn't something that you should set up and forget about for 30 years and then check on right before retirement. You should reevaluate your portfolio at a bare minimum of once a year, although I recommend at least every 6 months. Think of your portfolio like a car. Just like your car needs regular oil changes and maintenance, so does your portfolio. Some drivers do nothing but put gas in their car, and they ignore all the other fluids, belts, spark plugs, and other parts of the car that need to be checked and occasionally changed. This is like having a portfolio, and all you do is contribute to it regularly, but you don't review it or make any adjustments to it. Now, most car maintenance isn't that hard. You can look up videos on YouTube if you want to change your own oil, replace your own car battery, charge your own air conditioner, etc. You can save a lot of money by doing some of these maintenance operations yourself, but a lot of people find that they would rather take their car to a professional garage to have their car worked on, even if it costs them extra money. Again, the question you have to ask yourself is how much time you're willing to spend to manage your own portfolio. If you want to save money and you're willing to put in the work, doing it yourself may be for you. However, if you'd rather just have someone else take care of these services for you, be aware that nobody works for free and you'll have to pay for these services. If you've decided that the do-it-yourself route is for you, you can set up an account on one of several online brokers. They charge flat fees for trades but don't offer any advice, so you're on your own. If you're comfortable managing your own portfolio, this is the cheapest option because there are no additional management or advisor fees. If you'd like professional help with the management, advisory, or both, you have 3 options, and I'll go into the pros and cons of each. The first are commission-only advisors and managers. These are the most common kinds of advisors and can be found at your local bank, and they're ideal for people who are just getting started and don't have $100,000 or more in investable assets. So here's how it works. The commission-only advisor will help create a portfolio for you, and they are paid from a sales charge incurred when the money is invested, also known as a load. There are different kinds of loads. Some are paid up front, some are paid annually, and some are paid down the road. They usually are a percentage that starts out at around 4 to 5% and goes down the more you invest, which are known as breakpoints. That was a lot of information, so let me demonstrate this with an example. Let's say that you want to invest $45,000 in a mutual fund. You decide to buy what's known as an A share because you pay the sales charge up front and get it out of the way. Your advisor tells you that your sales charge will be 4.5% of the $45,000 or $2,025. Meaning that $42,975 will be invested, and $2,025 will be taken out to pay for the advisor. However, there's a $50,000 breakpoint, meaning that if you invest an additional $5,000, the sales charge goes from 4.5 to 3.5. The advisor doesn't keep most of the sales charge anyway, usually only 25 to 50%. The rest goes to the broker as a whole, usually the employer or the firm. The advantage of commission-only advisors is that they will help anyone. They have very low minimums, and they're very easy to get a hold of. They most often operate through the phone, and when you open an account, you'll usually be given a phone number to call to place trades and perform any services to your account. One of the disadvantages of commission-only advisors are that they often stop caring about you once they've been paid. They will be very helpful when you're setting up your account because they're going to get that big upfront commission. But once you invest and they've been paid, they disappear unless you're going to buy something. Another disadvantage is that there is a huge risk of the advisor making recommendations based on the commissions and not what's in your best interest. For example, mutual funds pay commissions of about 5% or less, while annuities and other insurance products pay much higher commissions, often 7% or sometimes more than 10%. This practice is discouraged publicly, but advisors are under a lot of pressure to make sales quotas, and the reality is how an advisor is paid will have a very strong influence over the quality of their advice. One way to mitigate the risk of advisors making recommendations based on commission rather than your interest is to pay fees directly to the advisor. This is the difference between a commission-only and a commission-based advisor. The commission-only advisor is paid only by commissions, while a commission-based advisor is paid by commissions but also charges fees for his time, usually $100 an hour or so. This sounds like a terrible deal, but when you get your car fixed, you pay labor costs of about $100 an hour too. These fees serve two purposes. They put less pressure on the advisor to sell things or recommend things based on commission because you're paying them directly, so they are losing less money even if they recommend something with a lower commission. The other purpose is that it creates an incentive for the advisor to meet with you for reviews even if there is little to no sales potential. They will still make a few $100s, so you won't be forgotten after the initial sale as you may be with a commission-only advisor. Commission-based advisors are also known as fee-based advisors. They're exactly the same thing. Whether they're called commission-based or fee-based, it simply means they're paid via a combination of fees and commissions. The third kind of advisor is known as the fee-only advisor. These advisors don't get commissions at all and are only paid by you. This means that there is no conflict of interest because you're the only one paying them. The biggest advantage is that fee-only advisors will be the most attentive to your needs, and have no incentive to do anything other than to make recommendations that benefit you, as they get paid an hourly or flat fee regardless of their recommendations. They are almost like doctors, they get paid directly regardless of what medication or remedy they prescribe. Imagine if your doctor didn't get paid at all if they didn't diagnose you with something and write you a prescription. If you just came in with the common cold, the doctor would have an incentive to give you an expensive placebo in order to make sure they were compensated for their time. That sounds insane for doctors, but that's how we treat advisors outside of fee-only advisors. However, there are disadvantages to fee-only advisors. They have the highest minimum balance requirements. They generally won't accept your business if you don't have at least $100,000 to invest or so. So if you're just starting out, you'll have to go elsewhere. Another disadvantage is that because they aren't making money on commissions, they utilize index funds and discourage active management. They do this because it allows them to have high service fees while keeping the total fees of the client competitive. For example, a fee-only advisor will recommend things like index funds because there is no commission or additional fee, but they will charge fees for their services to the client so that the client will end up paying about the same fees as they would with a commission-based advisor, but is being pushed into index funds instead of potentially better vehicles that may assess a fee or commission in order to keep the total fees competitive. In reality, any advisor, whether they're commission-only, fee-based, or fee-only, still may be looking out for themselves and making recommendations out of self-interest rather than your interest. Having a fee-only advisor eliminates most potential conflicts of interest, but that doesn't mean there aren't outstanding commission-only advisors that genuinely care about their clients and do what's in their interest. There are good people, and there are corrupt assholes everywhere. So before we end for the week, let me briefly explain why I hate index funds. If you've done any research, you've probably found numerous articles saying how bad actively managed funds do in comparison to index funds, and how 70% or so of actively managed funds don't outperform the index over a 5 or 10 year period depending on the source. Let me tell you why that's bullshit. In our last lesson about market cycles, we learned that the economy changes like the seasons, and that different companies become more or less profitable based on the current cycle. An index fund mirrors a market index like the S&P 500 index, which is simply an index of the 500 largest companies based on sector. It's almost entirely made up of large cap companies. Now, as a quick callback to market cycles, small cap companies grow faster during bull markets, but lose more money during bear markets. Meanwhile, large cap companies don't grow as fast during bull markets, but lose less money during bear markets. When you're investing in volatile assets like small cap stock, high yield bonds, emerging markets, etc., you need active management, period. The assets are too volatile for a passive approach, but you lose a lot of money during the bear markets, which happen about every 10 years or so. This is why the proponents of index funds say that the actively managed funds underperform the index over longer periods, because they are calculating it based on people leaving their money in the fund during the wrong market cycle. Remember, it's all about buying low and selling high. During the bear market, when the economy is bad, large cap stocks are going to rise while small cap and other volatile stocks are going to fall. So what you do is you sell the large cap when the price is high, and you buy the small cap when the price is low. When the economy turns and we enter the bull market, your small cap stocks will soar, while your large cap stocks will lose value. When that happens, you sell your small cap when the price is high, and you buy the large cap when the price is low. Lather, rinse, repeat until you're rich. It's not even that complicated, but it does require active involvement with your portfolio. Again, you can never time the markets exactly, just like we can't accurately predict the weather 100% of the time. But we can all recognize the seasons. We know what winter, spring, summer, and fall feel like, even if we don't know what the temperature is going to be tomorrow. The reason I hate index funds is that indexes are not based on a particular asset, but are chosen to be a leading economic indicator. Instead of an S&P 500 index fund, get a large cap value fund or a large cap growth fund. The latter two contain stocks based on individual company research. Index funds just buy whatever stock is included in the index. When a company is added to the index funds buy the stock to ensure the index fund mirrors the index. But there is no intelligent input, no research, no risk management regarding whether this company is good or not. Also, index funds will hold a company as long as it's part of the index, even if it's a piece of crap. They won't sell until it's lost all of its value and has been removed from the index, while other funds either stayed away from it or sold it long ago. I'm not against passive investing, I'm just against index funds. They're popular because they're simple. People like to be able to turn on the TV, see how the S&P 500 is doing, and know how their portfolio is doing at the same time. However, people tend to value simple investments because they don't know a lot about investing in the first place. They go with what they understand, which may not be the best. One last point regarding index funds. Proponents of index funds like to say that 70% of actively managed funds underperform the index over a given period, but that implies that 30% did outperform the index. Guess how many index funds outperform the index? 0%. Absolutely none. Guess how many match the index? 0%. Absolutely none. The reason is that even if the fund perfectly mirrors the returns of the index, they still have fees. Minimal as they may be, often only a fraction of a percent or so. However, this means that index funds can never match the index. They can only get as close to the index as possible minus the fees. So which odds do you like better, 30% or 0%? However, that's not really even the issue. The issue is that if you understand asset classes and market cycles, you can use both active and passive management to take advantage of the ebb and flow of the economy to make money. Passive investing is great for stable assets like large cap stocks, government bonds, etc. Active investing is required for volatile assets like small cap stocks, high yield bonds, etc. It's not about which is better or worse, it's about having the right tool for the job. I know that I jumped ahead a little because we haven't explained the difference between individual stock, mutual funds, and ETFs yet. I was going to do that this week, but based on the feedback I've received from people looking for help getting started, I thought that this lesson was timelier. We will cover the different ways to invest in stocks next week, and I'll show you how to construct a portfolio using a combination of active and passive assets based on your risk tolerance. So that's it for this video. Please like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.